Hey there everybody, Joseph, El Chingo, and Benitez. Today's video is a little bit different. Kind of decided that one of the things that I'm going to do is do a monthly Q&A of just kind of anything the internet wants to hit me with. Can be jiu-jitsu related, doesn't necessarily have to be BJJ related. Just really wanted to focus on like kind of keeping this connection here and making sure that, that I'm accessible to all my fans, you know? I'm just kidding. I just really want to kind of keep that community going and kind of make everybody feel involved, because I realize that in all my videos I haven't talked at all about who I am. Not that you should really care, because spoiler alert, I'm nobody. But I just wanted to take the time to kind of let you guys, ask me whatever's on your mind and kind of go from there. So I hope you guys enjoy. First question comes from my buddy Amir. He asked, what made you get into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu? I started Jiu-Jitsu, I took my first classes around the time that The Ultimate Fighter first came out. I started paying attention to MMA and all that stuff. And then when Matt Brown, who was from the Columbus, Ohio area, got picked up, I found out that there was a gym in Columbus that he was training at. And I was like, well, I'm going to go learn how to fight there. And I went, I took some MMA classes, found out very quickly I hated getting hit in the face. And I had wrestling from high school, but it wasn't very good. So I was just getting annihilated. So the jiu-jitsu instructor was like, hey, why don't you come try a jiu-jitsu class? And I did, and I fell in love with it. I didn't end up sticking at that school. I got hurt a few times and ended up quitting for a couple years, and then I ended up coming back in around like 2011, 2013, and I've been steady since. So that's how I got started in jiu-jitsu. Ashley asks, hey bro, what is your sign? Bro, I'm an Aries. I think anybody that knows me for any length of time will know that even though I don't believe in astrology or anything like that, the definition fits to a T, and my wife loves to tell me that everything she dislikes about me is my Ariesness. So there's that. Katie asks, how do you make time to train, work, family, etc.? Oh man, that's a complicated question. So right now I'm wrapping up my design degree. I have like 2 months left. The main thing that I do that I love is photography and graphic design. And I do that on the side. So I was finishing my degree for that, which takes up a huge amount of time. I'm training 5 to 7 times per week. I have a full-time job that I'm working 45 hours a week. And on top of that, I have 3 kids and 1 on the way. So time is something that's definitely very, very important to me. And I find it to be the biggest currency in my life. And so I think the biggest thing for me, at least, has been, my wife has been awesome, where she supports my jiu-jitsu, and she'll be the first one to crack the joke that whenever she's tired of my crap and doesn't want to deal with me, she'll send me off for people to beat me up. It's been great. How do I balance all of it? It changes day to day. It's all about kind of making concessions where you can. I have a hard line of I have to train 3 times a week. Anything over that is gravy to me. So if it comes down to it, I'll sacrifice classes, because at the end of the day, I have to go to sleep with my wife at the end of the night, and I don't have to go to sleep with jiu-jitsu. Keeping her happy is definitely very important. And I mean, my day starts almost every day at 6 a.m., especially on days where I have my morning classes. I wake up at 6, I'm training at 6:30. Usually not going to bed till 11 or midnight, so I don't sleep a ton. But I got stuff I got to do, and I got stuff I want to do and I want to accomplish, so that's how I'm going to get there. My man Derb asks, why do blue belts quit once they get their blue belt? I think that blue belts quit because I think that we place a lot of value in blue belts. I think that we place a lot of value in, once you get there, that's when you're serious about jiu-jitsu. And I don't think that's really the case. I mean, even me as a purple belt now, I don't think that my jiu-jitsu started getting serious until almost a year into my purple belt, when I started realizing how much I didn't know. And that was, compounded especially once I started training under my professor, Travis Haynes, where, my first couple classes with him, I was like, oh man, I really don't know anything. I think that a lot of blue belts quit because blue belt's enough in their mind, because that's kind of the aura that the jiu-jitsu community is painted around the belts, that, even though ultimately the goal is black belt, you start getting taken seriously at blue belt. My friend Ben asks, how do I learn who is the mat enforcer and subsequently avoid them? Well, the way that you learn who the mat enforcer is by being a douchebag. Because the mat enforcer's job is to kind of squash anything the professor or the upper belts need them to. So if you're encountering a mat enforcer, chances are it's because you're doing something wrong. If you're at a gym where the mat enforcer is just beating you up for the sake of beating you up, probably don't need to be at that gym. Sounds like a bunch of douchebags to me. As somebody who I feel like at times I can be a mat enforcer, generally there's a sense of righteous indignation that comes with it, where you get your target set for you by a black or a brown belt, and you go and carry out your orders. But ultimately, I think it's as long as you're showing respect, as long as you're playing by the rules that gym is set, you should be fine. Mia, one of my training partners, asked 2 questions. First question, what is the most efficient way to lose weight and maintain? Man, I'm fat. I don't think I'm the person to answer that question. That being said, wrestling background, I've competed a bunch, cut weight, all that stuff. I think especially for somebody like you, Mia, who, you know, you're under 18, you're still very young. I am gonna say something controversial in that you probably shouldn't cut weight in the first place. I think you should fight at the weight that you're at. I might be wrong in this. I don't have any kids that compete in jiu-jitsu. My kids train, but they don't compete. I don't see a lot of kids cutting weight. And if they are cutting weight, they're typically boys that come from a wrestling background. I don't think that adolescent or teens should cut weight for tournaments. I don't think adults should cut weight really either, but you know, everybody wants whatever edge they can get. But at the end of the day, this is a hobby. There's no reason to stress yourself and strain yourself in order to cut a couple pounds. That's my opinion on it. To answer your question, obviously water intake is insanely important. I don't suggest cutting water, especially how young you are. You're not really accustomed to it, and also I know when your competition is, and it's too late already, so don't do that. But you know, the main thing is just being cognizant of how much you're eating. That's been my big thing, has been, you know, for this most recent competition, I haven't had like a really crazy weight cut. I've just cut back my portions, be a little bit more cognizant of, you know, what it was that I was eating, you know, what I was putting in my body, you know, trying to drink as much water as possible, taking my multivitamins, eating my fiber, you know, all that stuff. So those are all important things. You know, there's a wealth of knowledge on this subject online. Once again, I can't stress this enough that I think as a young lady as you are, you should be cutting weight in the first place. So that's just kind of where I stand on it. The next question Mia asks is recommendations for protein or post-training meals. Post-training, I typically, you know, it's contingent on what time of day it is. So if it's the morning class, as soon as I get home, I'm drinking a carb-based post-workout drink, typically just kind of giving me the fuel that I need back in, getting me ready for the day and things like that. It just kind of like gives me life back. My only complaint about that is it's got like 4 or 5 grams of sugar, and I try to steer away from sugar, but especially after a very hard training session, I've found that to be really helpful. Another thing, if you're trying to avoid carbs, is liquid IV. I could be wrong on this. I don't know how many carbs are in it. But liquid IV has also been insanely helpful. All of your electrolytes, everything you could possibly need. You know, 20, 30 minutes after I drink it, I'd be ready to train again. I've always found eating after an evening class to be a really complicated subject because most of the time I'm getting home 9:15. Typically I eat light dinners on training nights. I typically eat about, you know, a little bit under 3/4 of a full serving of what I would normally eat, because for me the big thing after training is hydration. So I'll typically eat, you know, under 1 serving. I'll have an apple and then whatever one of those 2 beverages I mentioned before. My buddy Nick, who lives in Wisconsin or Minnesota or one of those places that nobody cares about, had 3 questions. So first question, what movie, martial arts or not, would be vastly improved by including Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu? I think the answer to what movie would be improved by adding Jiu-Jitsu would be the movie Jiu-Jitsu starring Nicolas Cage that's getting ready to come out, which has no Jiu-Jitsu in it. Anybody who knows me really, really well knows that I'm a film nerd who hates Nicolas Cage. I offer that we take the Jiu-Jitsu movie, we take Nicolas Cage out of it, and put Jiu-Jitsu in it, and I don't care how bad it is, I'll still watch it. I'll probably buy it. Hell, I bought Red Belt, and that's a festering piece of shit. So, there you go. If I could do jiu-jitsu with any historical figure, living or dead, who would it be? You know, I've thought about this question a lot because one of my favorite parts of the movie Fight Club is when they're talking about who they would fight, living or dead. I can't remember if it was Tyler or the narrator, but he says that he would fight Abraham Lincoln. And I always thought that was such an interesting choice. If I could fight anybody in all of history, Teddy Roosevelt, because, you know, he did judo, he did wrestling, he was a tough as nails kind of guy, and I think that would be a fun fight. And win or lose, being able to fight Teddy Roosevelt would have been a great privilege for just about anybody. So there's that. And Nick's final question is, what is the worst pre-roll meal? I don't eat before jiu-jitsu. I find that I feel really sluggish, real slow if I eat like within an hour or 2. I don't know about meals. I thought it'd be a great idea to, you know, have a few drinks with some buddies before going and training. And this was like, even though I was like, oh, I got 3 hours, so I got to train, I can put these down, I'll be fine. Was not the case. I snuck into the bathroom and threw up. This is my last question, so thank you guys for your time. On Instagram, an account that I talk to every once in a while called JitsBitch asked, we've all had times we felt like quitting. What was one of those times for you? I would say that there was a time between my blue belt and my purple belt. There was a gym that I was a part of, and I was there from 2013 to 2018, I think. Got my blue belt in a year and a half, 2 years there, and then was a blue belt for another 3 years or so. In that time, I think I finished as a 2-stripe. I felt really, really stuck, and I kept asking, you know, what can I do to improve? What do I need to work on? And the answer that I got And you know, this is really kind of the birth of this channel, is kind of answering these kind of questions. But the answer that I always got was just keep on training. And I've always been kind of the mindset that that's not an answer. You know, saying just come and show up doesn't tell me what I need to improve, doesn't tell me what I need to adjust. And I don't think that I'm a dumb guy. I think pretty critically about my jiu-jitsu. I spend a lot more time thinking about it than what I probably should. And to not get those answers was frustrating. So, but in between there was definitely that thought of, should I quit? And I thought hard and heavy about it. And I mean, I did. I took some time off. I ended up at MATLAB with Travis. Now that I'm there, I am not going anywhere. Never been happier in my jiu-jitsu. It's the best education I've gotten. I need to learn, and if I'm not being taught, then I'm not happy. Thanks everybody for the questions. Like I said, I'm gonna do this once a month. Probably about in another 2 weeks, I will, you know, on my Instagram and on my Facebook, I will the announcement that we're doing more Q&A. I hope you guys decide to follow and ask questions. I'll answer anything. I don't care. Links for my Instagram are right here, right here. I think that looks like a good spot. Are right there. And yeah, have a great week, guys, and see you next week. Take care.